You are listening to an Awakening from Belfast podcast, an adult conversation about local, worldly, and otherworldly topics. Be prepared, there is some swearing in the podcast.
Hello everyone, and welcome to An Awakening from Belfast. And tonight I have a friend of mine. I've known him for a couple of years now.
2 years, yeah.
And he's an amazing man. I love him, I really do. And I'm just going to let him introduce himself, and we'll have a wee chat.
Good evening. Is it evening? Are we on the evening?
I don't know. Aye.
Or hello everyone. My name's Colin Reid. So I'm a musician from East Belfast, and I'm interested in a lot of different things.
What really gets me is that now you're a musician. You're a very famous musician. You've done a lot of work. You have a lot of work behind you. And just, do you want to talk about that and tell us a wee bit about that first? Or
I had an absolute blast. I made a few guitar albums. I suppose the guts of 20 years ago now. That were very well received. I got a lot of really good press out of it, and consequently was able to tour. So toured bits of Europe, got to America a lot of times, out to Hong Kong, out to Japan once. So that's me. That's just a bloke from Belfast with a guitar. So not quite sure how it happened. It was a dream come true when it happened. But it's kind of a period of life that it's changed for me now. I'm not quite the same musician I was before.
why do you say that?
There's other things to think about. Yeah. So now music is a very deep part of things. So I've actually got a different kind of respect for it than I used to have for it. It's I took a break for a while. I thought I was going to take a break for a couple of weeks. It turned into 5 years. And during that time, I came to realize exactly how vital and life affirming and how good for you the practice of music is. Mm-hmm. So I'd been on a lot of planes, and I'd end up with 2 slip discs. And double tennis elbow, so I had to take a break and get my posture right and my breathing right, which were the 2 areas that had caused the injuries, really.
Breathing,
absolutely, yes. So clearly not with a wind instrument, but with a guitar, for example, whenever you come up to a difficult passage, you may hold your breath.
Yeah, get you in that one.
Yeah, as soon as you hold your breath, your body goes into panic mode.
Yeah.
And that is how you come to make the same slight mistake again and again and again, over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day. Yes, so when I was playing a tune, not only was I playing a tune, but I was actually running a repeat of the way I would breathe the tune.
Yes.
So
I'm getting you on that. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand.
So when I took a break just to let the old technique fall away and develop some new ideas, the first thing I did whenever I started playing again was I rebreathed all my tunes. Mm-hmm. So I play them really slowly with the metronome and notice, right, you were about to hold your breath. Mm-hmm. And rebreathing it. And at that point then, it kind of comes, not as it should be, but if you're really fortunate as a musician, you can get yourself into a space where, it's like a hummingbird. The music's like the hummingbird's wings, and you're just the perfect point of stillness in the middle. Mm-hmm. And keeping your breath lovely and slow, and just really nourishing yourself with your breath as you play is really vital for that.
It's funny you said hummingbird there, and I was actually thinking about a friend of mine. She's a beautiful woman. And she just recently discovered that she hasn't been taking a full breath her whole life.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Just with shallow breaths. It's so important, and, really is. Yeah. And then, what happened then? What did you do?
Well, I suppose then, armed with that, I was kind of becoming interested in people and community. And so I've kind of been going out into the community and playing music with people.
In the middle of a podcast.
Turn the fucking phone off.
I'm just recording. Okay, all right, bye-bye. Sorry, I always turn it on. Oh, frickin', I need you. Sorry, Mom.
Stop that community bit again. Go into the community.
I'll turn this off to fuck, because I don't trust myself. Sorry about it.
To say what happened next. Yeah.
That sounds like a wee fart, doesn't it? Yeah. So, what happened next?
Well, so I kind of got myself into the position prior to my break where I wasn't having any fun with music. It had become a little bit of a treadmill. And like I said, I had these kind of repetitive strain injuries going on. So one of the things I said to myself when I picked up the guitar again was that I was going to just attempt to have as much fun, authentic fun with it as much as possible. So one of the things I've done in recent years is start like a community guitar orchestra.
Yeah.
So there's up to 30 of us. Well, this is prior to lockdown.
Is that with Marty in that?
That's with Marty.
Marty,
yeah.
Marty Toner.
Marty Tohill.
Tohill.
Marty's the singer. He's a fucking tremendous
He
singer.
is.
He's a brilliant singer.
And he's an absolutely smicing fella, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a beautiful man, yeah.
So yeah, every Monday night we'd get together. There'd be up to 30 people from all walks of life, a varied range of talent, and that really wasn't the important thing. Showing up and getting involved was the important thing. So I've been involved in that for the past few years, and I'm just about to undertake a new guitar writing project as well. So something fairly substantial for guitar and small orchestra.
Oh my God.
Aye. So yeah, so I kind of say, to put it really succinctly, had my joy, lost my joy, found my joy again.
Yeah. Well, you've been trying to teach me guitar.
I've been sitting here while you've been teaching yourself. Badly.
I agree, man. But I've tried a few times in my life to play guitar. The first time was with my dad. I came home from school one day and he says, "I'm sick of smoking guitar." Right? You're doing my head in. So he says, "Well, me and your ma have got you booked in for a course of lessons in School of Music." Yeah. But I never got going because it was involved. It was a bomb went off at the time, and it was just. And then I tried again and again, and I could never get it. But now I know I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
You know, if my fingers start working again. But no, I'll get there with your help. You know, thanks very much, man. You know. So what else you got? What else interests you? And like, you know, what?
Lots of creative things. I've been writing for a couple of years. Writing short stories, strange, bizarre short stories.
Well,
some of them dark.
wouldn't be leggy.
Someone once described it, was it like cross between Hammer Horror and Watch with Mother, which is funny. That's my parents. I mean, I kind of do feel like I typify my parents. So my dad was into the Hammer Horror movies, and I'd sit on a Friday night.
Oh, I hated them.
Oh,
I loved them at the time.
Yeah, I hated them too.
No, at the
Terrified.
time they were brilliant.
Yeah.
Not now, just couldn't
Yeah.
dream of it. You know.
So that and sort of lots of creative things. Yeah.
And what are you at now? What is your latest sort of ventures or?
Again, movie scripts, guitar projects, number projects.
Number projects?
Number projects.
What else got you interested in? What do you mean numbers? Mathematics now?
I do mean mathematics, yes. And what got me interested in that was, it's not so much an interest in mathematics. I was interested in the human condition. And I'd read that many sort of spiritual traditions hold number in great high esteem.
Right.
Yes, and I know certain people and certain, they ingest certain substances, and number and ratio and geometry, things like that, show up in the experience. So I thought I'd have a good think about number, not specific numbers, but just the whole concept of numbers. There's also the book in the Bible, the Book of Numbers. Yeah. Yes, which I'm not familiar with, but I just thought it was very interesting that there was a book called the Book of Numbers.
I never even thought about it. It could have been somebody's name, Mr. Numbers or something, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
had no idea myself.
And then again in the last book of the Bible, in the Book of Revelation, it mentions a number. So I thought, right, I'll have and there's always been something a bit mysterious about it, and it does get a little bit kind of veer into the mystical a little bit, the contemplation of numbers. So I thought I'd have a think about them, just to see what I could discover or find out. Yeah.
What can you find? I'm a wee bit lost. Like, what can you find out from? I know that there is a lot of symbology in numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. I did see an interview, or it was Christine Lagarde, He was head of was it the World Bank or
Yes.
the European Bank
Yeah.
or whatever?
Yeah.
And she was on one time talking to a lot of bankers.
Aye.
And she said something, was it like, it was, oh, you all know the power of the number 7.
Yes.
And you all were all nodding.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What else that
Well,
about?
so it's sort of, I kind of have a passing notion about what that's about. That's not what I'm talking about. But what she was talking about was a number system, which I believe is called gematria. Which,
heard of it,
yeah, it extends from the Bible. It's like from Kabbalah, as far as I know now. Forgive me if I'm misspeaking about this. This is just what I've gleaned. And really what that is it's a secret language encoded into number.
Well, I believe that, okay.
Yes. Now, that's not the operations of number or the scientific area for number. But yes, that is an area for number. And really what it is, it's a secret language encoded into number. And again, one of them appears in the Bible. So I believe those are the same class of number. So what I'm talking about is more, so numbers are constructed logically, or mathematics is a logical science. And part of the way the human brain works is by using logic. So I wondered if there was any possible crossover between what the brain might do and the way numbers behaved, it being that the language that they have in common is logic. So that's what got me really interested in thinking about numbers.
And where does this lead? What did this lead you to? You know.
Well, okay, so one of the distinctions in number is there's a difference between what are called rational numbers and irrational numbers.
That was Barney barking there for anybody listening. Never worry about him. That's Barney, my dog. I love him. He's allowed to interrupt. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some irrational number in that? What does that mean?
Well, okay, so first of all, the definition of irrational, we need to look at that because first of all, then we need to know what a rational number is.
Yeah.
Now, a rational number is a fairly simple number. It's a whole number or a fraction. So when you take a fraction like a half, for example, that actually means 1 compared to 2.
Yeah.
That's a ratio of 1 to 2. So whole numbers and fractions, those are rational numbers. Now, whenever you take a rational number like a half and you look at the decimal representation of that, that's 0.5.
Yep.
You take another fraction like a third and the decimal representation of that is 0.33333
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
So the decimal representations for rational numbers either terminate or repeat the same pattern forever and ever and ever.
Rational numbers do.
Rational numbers.
Right.
Yes, so 1/3 is a rational number and that will get you a never-ending decimal, but it's a regular pattern.
So what's an irrational number?
So an irrational number is a never-ending decimal where the pattern never repeats.
Like pi, is that?
Like pi, exactly.
3.16, blah, 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 blah.
3.1414.
Oh, 4,
yeah.
Make a learn.
Etc. 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 Now I want to be distinct about something here. So I'm not talking about engineering maths, right? So an engineer will come along and he's not interested in more than 2 decimal points.
Yeah.
Because he has to make something physical.
Absolutely.
So this that like a physicist is interested in a good number more decimal points than that because they go down to really small numbers. But again, it's like 40 decimal places is the most. Now this pi thing goes on for billions upon billions upon billions upon billions upon billions. In fact, never ends.
Yeah.
So an engineer is only interested in a couple of decimal points.
Why would you need that?
Well, you don't. This is what I'm saying. I'm interested in number theory, which is the number itself. So I'm interested in all of them. But in any practical sense, you don't need to go down to.
I've got a billion numbers down the line.
No, aye. So again, this is one of the things. That's interesting to me. So the scale of mathematics is infinite in both directions, but the size of the universe is finite. So the labeling system that we use for the universe, just let's say it's mathematics, is actually bigger than the thing it's trying to describe. So I don't think there's an exact match between mathematics and reality. I think it's a good descriptive language, but it's not an exact match.
But what did you make of irrational numbers then? What's the purpose? What is there behind it?
Well, so the first thing was that to me there was a mismatch between the representation of pi and the fact that it's representing a circle. So a circle to me is smooth.
Yeah.
Can we?
I get that.
A circle's smooth. And then this number that we have coming along to describe it, which is 3.1415, and those digits jump up and down and never get in any smooth pattern. So it troubled me that the number that we use to describe something smooth and simple and fundamental like a circle is in some way misbehaving. Well, the number's jumping up and down. The circle's not jumping up and down.
Yeah.
And you take a circle, take a coin, 2 pence piece, it's a finite thing, and the number that we use to describe it isn't finite. Goes on forever and ever and ever, ever and ever.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a mismatch in entities. And then we can come back to the title of what it is, which is irrational. So irrational doesn't actually describe what it is. It just says it's trying to describe it in terms of something else, in terms of rational numbers.
Yeah.
So that to me indicated that there was something just ever so slightly discoverable yet about these things, and there was a little bit of glossing over going on.
There's glossing over and everything.
There's glossing over and everything,
so,
yes.
Have you discovered something from this? Is there something that's it's led you to, or?
Yes. So I just want to quickly talk about the other famous irrational number, which is the square root of 2.
Yep.
So you get the square root of 2 whenever you cut a square in half along the diagonal.
Yep.
And again, so you've got one unit going one way, a unit at 90 degrees to that, and then the line that connects the ends of those lines is for some reason irrational and unsayable in the math system.
Do you mean across that?
Yes.
Right, got you.
Aye.
Yeah.
Now, you come along and you set a ladder against the wall, and the ladder is quite happy being against the wall. To me, it was clearly not accurate that these numbers we're using to represent these forms go on forever and ever and are higgledy-piggledy. It just didn't make any sense that two such simple forms, a circle and a triangle, had at the very get-go this problem in the numbering system for them.
How did you come to that conclusion, though? How did you? Was it just sitting doing sums?
No,
was it a thought?
It was really just a thought. I just thought, that looks a bit daft that, for a smooth entity like a circle, the number that we use to represent it is lumpy.
Yeah.
So I did discover something. So I discovered that my primary school maths teacher was on the money. So I remember it's clear as day, the first thing we did in primary school, mathematics, was learn.
Primary school mathematics?
Primary school mathematics.
Oh my God.
Aye. You have to go back to the axioms, you see.
So first, you didn't go to Park Parade?
Strandtown?
Oh.
Yeah. Aye, so the first thing she said was, you cannot add oranges and apples and get a meaningful result. So what that means is you always have to be performing your mathematical operations on like things.
Explain that to me.
You have to add cats to cats,
right,
and dogs to dogs.
Yeah.
If you add cats to dogs, what do you get?
A cog.
Well, I'm going to say you get pretty close to an irrational number. Yes.
Yeah.
So in the case of the circle, what the question is, what is pi? What you're actually asking there is how many straight line diameters can you fit around the outside of the circle?
Right? Yeah, 3.14.
3.14, etc., etc., etc. Yes.
Aye, but it goes on forever, so how does it meet? How does it meet? How does it join? Is that what you mean?
Well, pretty close.
Okay,
So,
right.
I actually think what I've discovered is that there's a slow puncture in the circle.
I was thinking, actually, it's like sort of thinking, I was thinking, right.
So, you think you can't add cats to cats, you can't divide cats by dogs, but in the process of generating this number pi, what we're trying to do is perform operations on two unlike things. So a line, which is straight, has a certain rate of change, it has certain properties, and then any curve has got a different rate of change and different properties. So from the get-go, what you're trying to do is stuff a cat into a dog.
But why not?
Well, there's no impediment to trying absolutely everything. However, if the result you get, which is a blooped number, comes back, now remember, it's not engineering. There's no reason not to do it down to a few decimal places, but we're thinking about the overall concept of the thing. So Well, you can really add anything or divide anything that you want, but you have to be prepared for the fact that you might get a new category of entity out of it.
I'm lost, man.
So, if you try and describe something that's curved in terms of lines, that's breaking the primary school rule
Of cats and dogs.
of cats and dogs.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Right.
So what's going on with pi is that you're breaking the primary school rule, which is that you're performing an operation on a curve by using a line. It's over logical. Yes. And the line will never fully complete the circle. Because as soon as you get a little bit of a straight line, you kind of have to eke that around the circumference of the circle.
Yeah.
And that's going to leave a little gap.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get another little straight line thing. And then you put that around the circumference of the circle. And that's going to leave another little gap.
Why don't you just get one big line and put it right around a circle that meets?
Well, that's what pi is. You see that little symbol? So that little symbol just encapsulates all of those numbers. So that's exactly what you would do. You would say to yourself, this isn't quite working. We'll gloss over a little bit and we'll just give it a Greek letter and we'll call it that.
Right. So what did this lead you to? What was the result of your mathematics?
Well, if we then have a look at the human brain, so the hemispheres of the human brain are specialised for different types of things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. So in the right hemisphere of the brain is specialised for top-down thinking, for continuity, for curves, and the left-hand side of the brain is for bottom-up thinking, for logic, for straight lines.
I wonder if this matches up, because my understanding in meditation stuff is the right hand side of your brain. That's where all your love. That's where your creativity is. That's where you are, your soul basically. But the left hand side is like more mechanical, more mathematical. It's it does. You need it. You wouldn't pick your kids up at school. Sort of thing, you need that left hand side.
Yeah.
But there's no sort of love or creativity in it. Does that match up in any way to what you're saying?
Sure, it absolutely does. So what I think the phenomenon of the mathematical irrational is akin to is the left brain trying to understand the right brain, and it's never going to be able to do it because they're different things.
Cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs. Now, I don't put myself, the entity in my right brain. I put it at the point of balance between the two.
And what does that do?
So it's now again the right hand side of the brain is specialised for the unknown. And another way of saying that is chaos.
Yeah.
And then the left hand side is specialised for the known, which would be order. So there's moments we get in life, you could call them peak flow moments, where we're actually in a state where we're perfectly balancing chaos and order. So surfing, for an example, is that. Riding a bicycle is an example of that. I actually think talking or walking is an example of that. So to me, that's the optimum position to be, is where you've got 1 foot in order and 1 foot in chaos, and that's 1 foot in the known and 1 foot in the unknown.
But that relates to my meditations, because as far as I'm concerned, the left-hand side of the brain is way more, is sort of like, we use it too much.
Yes.
And when I sit down to meditate, the whole purpose of the meditation is to slow the left-hand side down and balance them up.
Yes.
Is that the same thing we're talking about?
Yes, we're talking about exactly the same thing. So if you think of the circle, right, and then the line is the left brain coming in, right? So the left brain is just trying to continually race round and fully understand the curve of the circle. So take the infinite regress of the digits of pi. It's over logical.
Yeah.
There's too much going on. It's never going to get to the end. You know when your mind races?
Oh, don't.
And it goes round and round and round and round and round. You keep getting another idea to fix this solution, but it's never the right idea. So I actually think the digits of pi are a good representation of that mental process. And the reason is that it's this relationship between curves and lines, or continuity and discretion, or chaos and order.
What would represent the right hand side of the brain? Is there any like mathematical for that? Pi would represent the left hand. Is there a mathematical equation would sort of like represent the right hand, the love and the...
Well, yeah. I don't know about an equation now. I would maybe, I'd go to the concept of emptiness.
The void.
Yes, well, now there's a couple of different types of emptiness. There's vacuum emptiness, and then there's plenum emptiness.
Yeah.
So what I'm talking about, love, for example, would be an example of a plenum emptiness.
Yeah.
So there's two good words here, vacuum and plenum.
I've never heard of plenum. There you go.
Okay, so a vacuum is an empty space with absolutely nothing in it.
Yep.
Or void, right? And then a plenum emptiness is like the emptiness of a swimming pool filled with water. It's empty, but it's full.
Yeah.
And that emptiness to me it's like the field of potential. So it's from the full emptiness that you can create, and then we can't create from void emptiness.
Right.
Yeah. So if I was to try and suggest something numerical for the operations of the right brain, it would just be emptiness. It would be nothing. Yeah. Yeah. But very definitely not the void. Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, like when the Buddhist sits down, the Buddhist monks sit down to meditate. That's what they're looking for.
That's what they're looking for.
That's the whole point of sitting down.
Yes.
Is for that emptiness.
It's for the emptiness. Yeah. Yeah.
So where has this led you to? What is your...
Well, it's led to a number. Irrational numbers weren't the only thing I had to think about. I really got into the nuts and bolts of it and just thought about all the concepts very deeply. So one was, it was an interest in the nature of number itself, but I also noticed that all the sciences in the world are denoted in mathematics. So if there was something, some deep things unseen right down in the nitty-gritty of maths, it was my suspicion that would permeate then through all the other sciences. Yes, and there's certainly in like the atomic electrical theory of the universe with atoms, there's interesting stuff going on numerically. So, for example, atoms are said to be neutral. So we've got positive charge and we've got negative charge, which in a mathematical sense cancel out to nothing. Now, in a physical sense, I don't know that they do that. So fast forward, and we hear from our cosmologists, we actually hear this from our cosmologists, they say, we've added the universe up, and according to us, we shouldn't be here, which to me is nearly the daftest statement I've ever heard. Just go and look in a mirror and see if you are there. So I wondered if there was some either inconsistencies or misapplication of mathematics that might be showing up as red herrings or bloopers in the other sciences. Yes, I have. Yeah, or I have to my own satisfaction. Yeah. So, for example, there's some conversation that prime numbers are important, whereas after having looked at them pretty deeply, it's my view that they're trivial.
And what is important?
What is important?
If prime numbers aren't important, what is?
In numbers and number theory, I would have it that utility is important.
What's utility?
It's usefulness. So engineering maths.
Right.
Yeah. Engineering maths is great. Yes. Around the area of number theory, I'm not sure if any of it's important. One of the great and famous number theorists, Hardy, wrote an essay close to the end of his life called A Mathematician's Apology, where he himself, he didn't know whether he'd spent his entire life, contemplating anything that was actually of any use. Yes.
That would be a delight, wouldn't it?
Yes. So, so there is this question of some, what's important, or is it actually trivial? So, I mean, there's a series of numbers, the Fibonacci series. We've all heard of the Fibonacci series. We can look out in
1.61 or whatever it is.
Yeah, the decimal representation is 1.618. That's phi, I think, called the golden ratio, and that's everywhere in nature.
Could you explain that for people listening? How it affects in nature.
Sure. For example, if you look at the head of a flower, and you count the seeds or stamens or whatever in the middle of the flower, you'll find that there's one and then there's one beside it, and then the next circle will have
Yep.
1 + 1 2. The next one will have 2 + 3 5. So there's a reason why that occurs in nature, and it's actually it's the most efficient way to pack things.
It's like in big cabbages, you get the pointy bits. They're amazing. Looking.
Yes.
That yeah, I get
Yeah.
that, yeah.
So phi is everywhere in nature, and the numbers 1 1 2 3, they're everywhere in nature as well. But you can actually go to flowers and you can count them. So when it comes to that series of numbers and that concept phi, there's an excellent match between number theory and reality. When it comes to the primes, however, there isn't.
So, Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
I'm struggling here. So, is it more of a real thing that would, it's dogs and dogs? Is that what you mean? Or is it,
Well,
you know,
with the Fibonacci series, you're just counting things in the world,
yeah.
and they themselves are stacking up in this number series.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, what's going on in the Fibonacci is you're simply taking a number and you're adding a number.
Mm-hmm.
So nature can add.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the number series in itself exists out in the world. You're not adding anything. Yeah, well, you're always you're operating on like things with the Fibonacci series. Yeah.
And where has this actually brought you to? You know, you know, I've always wondered about mathematics. You know, I had an interest in them.
Yeah.
From E equals MC squared, from Einstein stuff and that. I used to read books and stuff, and you know, I didn't really understand it too well. Still don't. But at the end of E equals MC squared, there was an end product, in a way. A bomb was one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of things that come out of it. What is coming out of what do you think your theory of mathematics is? Is there an end product to it, or is it just an intellectual exercise?
No, remember, the reason why I started looking at this was because I was interested to see if there was any correlation between human activity and the way numbers behave with each other.
Right, yeah.
Yes. So I also got to thinking along sort of psychological avenues. So whenever you're worrying and the mind is turning, right, there's a logic to that.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and mathematics is the language of logic. So what I've actually managed to distinguish out of it is a pretty good model for, could we say, circular human behaviour?
Explain that for me.
Like the phenomenon of Groundhog Day.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing over and over again. Say if you're drinking, for example, right? You've got one experience during the day, you've got one experience during the evening, and they're different experiences. So there's a logical structure to that.
In what way?
So let's say you wake up in the morning with a hangover.
Yep.
You say, I'm never doing that again. Right.
Not that. Many a time, man.
Right. So what's the opposite? What's the logical opposite of I'm never doing that again?
I'm going to do it all the time.
Right. And you do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point you overturn your definite statement of one thing into another thing. In fact, the way I got it for myself was this. I'm never doing that again. Then there's a period of bargaining going on, which I would have, it's the left brain arguing with the right brain at that point.
Absolutely. Then you say, fuck it.
And then you say, fuck it. And so you're out of your left brain at that point and into your right brain.
I feel the other way around.
With a...
If you say I'm going to have a drink.
I think that having a drink shuts up the over logicking that's going on in the left brain.
Do you think that's the reason for one of the reasons for drinking?
Absolutely.
Really?
It's to shut your inner voice up, yeah.
I never thought of that. I'm really getting that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Aye. So really, with the alcohol state, with other states, it works with cream buns as well.
Oh, aye.
What you've got is a set of statements that are washing from one side of your brain into the other in a loop, going round and round and round and round and round, and you're a prisoner on that loop.
That's brilliant, man. I get that. I understand that.
Yeah.
What's next?
Is it useful? I have a good descriptive tool. Is it useful?
Is it useful?
Is it useful?
Is it useful?
Yeah, that's the question. Is it useful?
Is
We'll find. Well, we'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out if it's useful. Yeah.
So where are you now with it? You know, what do you see it being your theory, your maths, or how would you explain it? How
Well,
would you,
so
or your equation, or whatever? How do you?
well, so there's a couple of different aspects of the maths work I've done. There's quite a few different aspects of it. This is one aspect of it. So really, what I noticed was going on with the mind at that point is that you're not present during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So by understanding what's going on and some meditative practices, as in you have to be noticing what your mind is doing.
Yeah.
You can calm it down, smooth it out, and you can actually use being stuck in this trap as a way to liberate yourself from the trap.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
How do you put that out in reality? How do you make that physical? You know what you're doing. Can you use that yourself to help yourself?
Like I say, what I've got at the moment is a good descriptive tool.
Yeah.
Yes. However, if your consciousness is continually washing between your left and right brain during the day,
Yeah.
right, you're hitting a lot of bus stops there. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you encounter a lot of things that are appropriate territory for self-work. Yeah.
What can we do? What can you do with this to help yourself or help anybody else? Or is it just like it's on paper, or can it be transferred from paper to to life?
Currently, it's in various document form and a lot of 3D models. Do you remember Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Loved it.
Do you remember
documentary?
Aye, do you remember the mountain? Aye, do you remember the mountain?
Yes.
I'm surrounded by bits of cardboard and sellotape. Yeah, with models. So I've actually shopped it round to a number of psychologists, given a few wee talks on it, just to get feedback. You know, because you have these ideas, you need to get feedback. You need to, you need to get peer review on them. So it's a pretty solid model in terms of this looping behavior.
Yeah.
So that's one of the places where the contemplation of maths has taken me, is there.
Yeah.
Yes. So also there's something. Yeah. With the introduction, these concepts get introduced to young people at primary school. Prime numbers and irrational numbers.
I never heard of rational numbers. Do you mention it?
You never heard of irrational numbers?
Not really.
Square root of 2.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was called an irrational number.
It's called an irrational number. Yes. Aye. So, yeah. I'm not entirely sure that there hasn't been some long-standing effect on the mind with humans interacting with irrational numbers and prime numbers.
But what else can they use?
Well, you need to find a proper name for it. So at the moment, irrational. Right? Is a cat a dog? Is a cat a dog?
No.
No. But not every not dog is a cat.
Every not dog.
Not every not dog is a cat.
Oh, that's true. Right.
Aye,
You have Mason for it.
Aye, but so what we're calling these numbers is not dog numbers.
I'm gonna have to lie down.
This happens a lot.
Fuck.
I haven't even started yet.
Okay. So how do you make this useful? How can you? What?
Well, so what does it lead to?
Yeah. What does it lead to?
What does it lead to?
Same thing.
Aye, what does it lead to? Aye. So it leads to some things which I would have it are useful. This particular double loop thing is useful.
That would be useful.
And then it leads to some things that maybe fall into the intellectual domain. Like there's a number
Don't be going too fucking mad.
there's a number of outstanding problems in maths. So but they're kind of strictly related to the domain of maths. Yes. So they're important within the field
Yeah.
as results, but have they got any real world application? Not sure yet to find out.
Yeah.
This was Hardy's issue.
Yeah. I know that there's equations there. People have been working at them for donkey's years, and people keep putting equations in, and then they're blue out of water or whatever.
Yes.
You know.
Well, so
Is it something that along M lines? Is it something that somebody's been working on, but you've had a new idea of it?
Yes, indeed.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a problem, an outstanding problem to do with prime numbers.
Right.
So whenever I discovered that there was an outstanding problem to do with prime numbers, I was flabbergasted because I'd heard about prime numbers in primary school,
Yeah.
and it just blew my mind that there was an outstanding problem to do with prime numbers. I thought everything would be known about prime numbers.
But do you think, I know nothing about this, right?
Yeah.
But do you think that knowledge is known, but it's not been fed out to us, or is it just hasn't been known? You know what I mean? Because there's an awful lot of shit out there
Sure.
to tell you anything.
I think that where we are in this civilization, that this stuff isn't yet known.
Oh.
However, there's been many other civilizations,
Well, yeah, absolutely.
and technologically they were more advanced than the one we're in now. So
I totally agree with
yeah, this could have, it could all be known already.
it. Have been known
It could already have been known
and lost.
and lost.
Or been and kept secret. Would there be a reason to keep it secret? You know, if you're talking about this loop thing,
Yeah.
you know, to me, the word's designed to keep us down and keep us in that
Well,
place.
okay.
So,
So
was that designed around that, or was it just a fluke?
well, so let me tell you now about a wonderful piece of maths developed in the 1930s called the incompleteness theorem. Right. So this was developed by a man called Kurt Gödel, who died of malnutrition and sleep deprivation, which is the rock star death for mathematics or mathematicians.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, just worked himself to death on the maths. Yep. So he was interested.
Not even fucking Jimi Hendrix.
You should see pictures of this guy. He's like a spectre. Einstein moved to the university he ended his career in to be close to this guy, so he could walk home with him. Kurt Gödel is his name. So yeah, he comes out with a thing called the incompleteness theorem. So what he proves is that any system based on rules, such as mathematics, is going to leave certain things out.
Why?
It's incomplete. Well,
Is it always going to be incomplete?
yes, any system. Well, so he showed that any system. We'll get back to the loop thing here momentarily. So he showed that any system based on rules will give rise to contradictions of two types. So anything predicated in logic, left brain, for example, is going to give rise to contradictions of two types. So the first type of contradiction is this: let's say you have a system of rules, and you can generate things that are true from your rules. So what he proved was that there's going to be something that's true that you can't reach from your rules.
I have no idea what's going on. I don't get it.
So-
Say it again.
Okay, so let's say we have a system. Right. Have you ever lost your car keys?
Oof.
What's the first thing you think?
Well, fuck some car keys.
Okay. The first thing I think is that someone's broken into my house and moved my keys.
Right.
That happens every single time.
Yeah.
Right. So my
No,
logic.
it's me. I know it's me being dopey.
Okay, you know that. I don't know that.
Yeah.
And even now that I do know it's me being dopey, my mind still takes me there. So, but it creates that out
Yes.
of logic. Right.
Right.
And then the actual truth is outside of the logic.
Yes.
So that's more or less what, in human terms, that's what he's saying, is that your logic can generate for you an absolute picture that you think is 100% the case, and it's logically consistent, and yet it's complete bollocks.
Yeah.
Yes. So you have developed, or I have developed my notion that the guy's broken into my house and moved my keys based on my logical assumptions. Right. And what Gödel was able to codify into mathematical language was the fact that there's going to be things that are true that you can't prove.
Right. Okay.
Right. So now that means F all to most people,
Oh,
including
yeah.
me,
Me-
man on the
me
street, the
included.
dog, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, but to scientists whose very life depends on being able to follow rules, this was like a hammer blow to the science. Yes, and the repercussions of it have not yet filtered through. But it's the other type of contradiction that's really interesting, and it's really interesting in human terms. So he developed a thing. He said any system will give rise to a type of statement called a Gödel statement. right? Which is a self-contradictory statement,
Mm-hmm.
right? So here's an example of a self-contradictory statement. This is not a message.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that by the time you get to the end of that statement, you're looping back around to the start of the statement.
Mm-hmm.
All statements are false. There's another one. So if that's false, it's true. And if it's true, it's false.
Right.
Right. So what that means that in that one statement, you've got this eternal loop going round and round and round and round and round.
And where does this lead us?
Well, so this to me, now that's a statement in logic. Now remember, we're talking about the mind and the way the mind can turn and the mind can spin in logic.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've got are Gödel statements that are occurring in the human consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
These infinite loops going round and round and round and round and round. And the connective tissue is the logic of the left brain.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you trap someone in a Gödel statement on purpose?
Don't know.
You know the way any computer can hang?
Yes.
Yeah, has anyone ever said something to you where it's just sent your head into a spin and you've just...
Oh, yeah, many times.
That's the same phenomenon. Like somebody rang me up last week and said down the phone, Colin, I've lost my voice. Right, and I sat there for minutes going, what? That's impossible. That's
It's like-
impossible. Aye.
Did you tell me about the sign? I actually seen it in Lisburn Road. It says, no unaccompanied dogs.
Or
You know,
pets must be carried on the escalator. Yeah, it's not quite contradictory, but so what he's talking about, like, take that one. Dogs must be carried on the escalator, right? So even though the words are the same, there's two completely different meanings can be derived from that.
mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's the blurry nature of logic. We think logic's 100%. We think Mr. Spock's right all the time,
Oh, yes, right.
but he's not. He's incomplete.
I think he's brilliant.
He needs Kirk. So there you've got Spock as order and Kirk as chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you need the balance. Yeah.
So what's next for you with this? Where are you going with this? You know, what are you?
I'm going to play my guitar and never think about it again. Now.
That's it.
I've told you.
Is that
enough. No, that's not it. No, I actually think this little logical system of loops that is a good way for modelling behaviour is worth sharing with people.
Mm-hmm.
A very interesting book I read was a book called The Structures of Scientific Revolution.
Right, this mathematics. Do you see anything actually? You know, you have. I understand you put in there pieces that. Who knows?
Who knows?
You know what I mean? Somebody gets a big fucking flash of inspiration.
Yeah,
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I get that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But is there no way you can put that out there in any other way? And is there a way of making it physical in a way?
Oh, sure. There's many documents can be written. There's many people. There's a thing called the Mathematical Gazette. There's all sorts of things you can send your work to.
And are you going to do that, or if you don't?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's very little point in doing that until you've got something substantial to talk about.
In what respect?
If you're going to attempt to break a piece of news, you better have a piece of news.
Yeah.
Yes. So, like I've been thinking about this now for about 15 years. So after 15 years, now is the time really to draw attention to it, to some of the things.
You're ready for that?
Yeah, absolutely am. Yeah.
So you're going to send your papers in or what? Or?
Oh yeah, look, no, listen, I have been. I mean, some of the. I'm the famous professor stalker in Belfast.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So trying to get conversations from people. So it takes a bit of stalking, and then you get a bit of a chat, and you get a bit of feedback.
And how's it going?
Oh, it's going grand. Absolutely. Yeah.
I wondered why all the professors in Botanic Gardens were walking around with false faces on.
Do you know Cyril?
Cyril
In Botanic Gardens.
Cyril, is it the guy on the bike?
That's the guy on the bike.
Yes, it indeed.
Who talks to everybody, knows everybody.
And he knows the book Holographic Universe
Yeah.
inside out. He had a good conversation. Well, I've had a few conversations with him.
Yeah.
I think he's read it something like 57 times or something. And there's people who's actually come over. This guy, that's for people out listening. This guy hangs about, and he's a bit of a hobo, or what do you call it? A bit of a tramp. He hangs about around the Botanic Gardens, Omo Park, and up a towpath. and you see him, his long grey hair, and you can't get him with 12 feet of him because he's a bit of a whiffer. But when you get to his true, like, you need a gas mask. But his knowledge of that, and I've read that book.
Yeah.
I've read it a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's like Japanese.
Yeah.
Get bits of it. There's no way I don't get the whole thing. He gets it. And people come over from England and all to meet him to discuss this.
If you think he's whiffy when he's dry, you should try him when he's wet.
Oh, I have.
So he talks to people, he talks to physicists, he talks to mathematicians. So I actually gave him a small bit of maths on a small note. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, pass that on to one of these maths people. So he did.
Really?
Yes, he passed it on to a physicist. So I got a telephone call.
Fuck off.
From physicist.
Yeah.
I'll not mention his name. And we go and have a cup of coffee, and I draw it all out with a pencil. He's doing this. He's going, I can see applications in physics. I can see applications in physics.
Holy shit, man. Fucking hell, spells and it. I just love that connection with Cyril through to get the physics.
I thought, yeah. Aye.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
So are you sitting waiting, or what is your next step?
Next step now is to, like I say, I've constructed gloriously bizarre art pieces that encapsulate the equations and bits of glasswork that, encapsulate the loops. So I've got it set artistically. So I think, possibly the next step is, I don't want to say it's mundane to write a paper. However, it's to put it down in I suppose, accepted language.
Yeah.
And then
wang it out there.
Wang it out. Now, yeah. So that's the next step. And in terms of my own personal fun with it, and by fun I mean a good taxing workout for the brain. Mm-hmm. Yes, I've worked every machine in the gym now, so I'm happy to let it go. I'm happy to take what I've learned and pass it on and let it go.
Right.
Yes.
Do you? I know you benefit, with your own inside your own self. What you do, but would it benefit you in any way? This outside of,
Well, I think one of the things that we all need to be good at is thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and thinking about the concepts of mathematics is a good workout for the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, the left brain, part of the human condition is we have this facility or, logic. Mm-hmm. And there's such a close correlation between the operations of maths and the operations of logic that by studying maths, it's good for you, it's good for a person.
I thought that would have just zapped up the left side of the brain.
BSc.
You know what I mean?
BA. Right brain.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Jesus Christ. I'm getting it.
So, for example, I've read and I know from first-hand experience.
Do you actually just sit and think? Do you sit and just think about mathematics for long periods of time?
It's generally not for long periods of time, but I'll certainly, if I have a spare 10 minutes where I'm doing the dishes, I can dial it up and pick up the problem from where I left it off and roll it around the brain. Absolutely, I can. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's a contemplation on elements. It's meditative in the same way that other things would be meditative.
Holy smoke.
You're just contemplating these different things. So one of the beautiful things is just that is the contemplation of nothing. Mm-hmm. So. Right, so we know there's emptiness, there's nothing. Contemplating mathematical nothing is interesting as well.
The only time I ever got, only ever got to that void, that nothing once in meditation. Once. Usually I go on it's carnage, there's all sorts of things going on, and it's beautiful, it's wonderful, but it's very educational. But I was delighted to get there.
Yeah.
I've actually been there a few times taking DMT.
Yeah.
It's brought me there. And it was right brain. Right brain thinking about it. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. That void.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be afraid there. That's gorgeous. It's very soothing and loving. So, in your mathematical equations, do you think that with your artwork that somebody could see that, sit and meditate, and it might just trigger something, or it might just trigger automatically. Is it just when your art pieces? Is it just a mathematician's going to get it, or is it Joe Blogs like me, who knows nothing?
Joe Blogs will, I think, like the art pieces because they're colourful and they look interesting.
Yeah.
Joe Blogs is not going to understand
Yeah, the
the
mathematical
maths coming off the equations.
Yeah.
However, the geometrical pieces that I've done, and I explain what this is about, people go, oh yeah, I do that all the time. So you can get, people do recognise some of the forms, all right. Yeah.
And is that where you're headed, art? Is this your next venture in life? Well, you've been a very successful guitarist. You're a mathematician. So is art the next stepping stone?
Isn't it? It's all part of the same thing. We're creative entities and we just have creative output, and we like to speak in different domains. So music is a kind of speaking in a particular way.
Oh yeah.
You know,
The greatest language, probably the greatest language in the world.
Aye. So really what I'm doing is I'm making statements in various language forms. Yeah, until I get it well said. Yeah. I also noticed that another way in which numbers affect humans is there's a small set of numbers that people apply a lot of meaning to in life.
Yeah.
So the bank balance, it's a number. You look at the bank balance.
Shade yourself.
Or the other way.
Yeah.
Your weight.
Yeah.
As well.
But you can see it in the mirror, don't you?
Yeah, people look at it, they doesn't care what what they look like. If their weight's gone down, all of a sudden happy gone up.
Yeah.
So that's an attribution to a number. You're being given a number, and then you're feeling a certain way about the number.
Absolutely.
Age.
No fuck.
There's another one. Time. So
numbers that are out that are meant to be good and bad and stuff, and the devil's number and all that.
Now, have you ever met a good number or a bad number? No, so it's humans that are applying the meaning to the number, right? But what interested me was that it's this set of numbers, and they kind of dominate human happiness almost. Yes.
Oh yeah, okay. yeah.
Aye. So again, what's going on with that?
Yeah.
Why this? Why? Yeah. So, I thought that was interesting to explore. It's the meaning that humans give to numbers.
Yeah.
That's where all your judgment comes out. This is good. That is bad.
There is, yeah.
Like in a bank balance, up is down, down is bad. But in your weight, for most people, it's the other way around. Up is bad, down is good.
Yeah.
Aye, so we've got this whole jumble of judgments that go on whenever we're confronted with numbers that we're using to measure our life.
Yeah.
And I think it's nuts.
I'm gonna have to really. No, you're giving me a lot to think about there, and that, you really have. Judgment thing with numbers. Yeah. I get that. Understand it, Yeah. So where are you now? Are you finished with mathematics? Is that you? Are you saying fuck it, I've had enough, or?
Well, what I've done, I've managed to complete my original intentions.
Right.
Which were to understand the things a bit better. For my own self, clear up any discrepancies. My original question, which was, if these formulae, if all of these shapes in mathematics are constructed in logic and humans operate on logic, is there any correlation between the human domain and the shapes of mathematics? So again, I've satisfied my own question there, and the answer is yes. Is that there's good correlation. Yeah. So there may be more, but I've answered my initial questions. So yeah. Like I say, there's no such thing as a trivial thought. There's no such thing.
Oh, I can think. I'm brilliant at trivial thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm a world expert. So, East Belfast champion.
So I read a book called Blink, which is about the human capacity to take stock of a situation very quickly, get it accurately, and perform the appropriate action. So reading that, I learned that humans got the capacity to gauge things pretty quickly. So I read a book on this problem and thought, I'll blink it. And just read a book really quickly on it and went with my gut, which is, yes, there's something you can say about this.
Mm-hmm. I have to tell you a story about happened to me. Talk about numbers, made me laugh. I was in Dempsey's one night. I know, don't be getting that way. I was in Dempsey's one night, and I was with my ex and her sister, and her sister, this guy was over and he's trying to chat her up. I mean, you could tell he's a Italian, big header, but he's chatting away at her and all, and he says something like, he says, so what are you doing? He says, I'm at Queen's doing whatever, English or whatever, He says, oh yeah. He says, and he's standing looking, you could see his eyes moving, he was thinking, what to say next, He says, I ain't going to night classes myself. She says, what are you studying? She says, I'm studying sums. Sums, Yeah. And mathematics to me has always been like, I never got it at school. We had a maths teacher, it was no bollocks, but then I remember I was doing algebra, when you're doing an algebra, right? I couldn't understand it. And then he actually was in good form one day, and he came in and he knew I was thinking, I'm not thick, why not getting this? Because a lot of people in the class were getting, And he spent the time, you know what I mean, with me. I'll never, good on him, because there's nothing as bad as being left behind in things. Like I feel left behind with your mathematics, but you've done your music, you've done your mathematics, doing your art. Is it art? What is your next adventure in life? How do you get through life with? I've got I don't know many hobbies and interests I've got, but you seem to be very specific and really go into something and study it in great detail, where I fuck about, So what is your next thing is there anything on the horizon different that is going to be, this is my next venture, my next crusade?
Yeah, there is. Well, it's not entirely out. Well, so there's two things. I've undertaken some new musical projects, but they're step up from previous musical projects. So
in what way?
Well, I'm writing a piece for orchestra.
Oh Jesus!
And then I'm writing a pretty extended work for guitar and small orchestra. Mm-hmm. You can't have a full orchestra with a guitar; it gets drowned out. Yeah. So those are like I say, I step up musically. I mean, I've been writing tunes for years, but it's a lot to take on to get something worthy of the ensemble. So there's that. However, kind of in life in general, I'm happy enough now to take a break from the past.
Yeah.
And not think about anything.
Happy days.
And see what comes up.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah. I totally. I would recommend people to do it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Because I believe, I'm a bit weird, I believe that things come to you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You don't go searching. So you go searching for something, you're not going to find it. You go searching for happiness, you're not going to fucking find it. You sit and it comes or whatever.
My experience being creative, it's actually the same process regardless of the domain of creativity, whether it's art pieces or music. So it's all about asking the right question internally and then listening for the answer. Yeah. David Lynch talks about that in his Transcendental Meditation. He talks about fishing for ideas. Yes, so the experience of it, now whether it is something you pick up from outside your physical body or whether it bubbles up from somewhere inside you yourself, inside your own consciousness, the experience of it is of something arriving, coming in from outside. And to me, that's the same across all creative domains, but it requires, the way I put it is, it requires the practitioner to be in an inquiry about something. So there's something you're thinking about, there's something you're wondering about, and then the answer will appear in your mind, or very often you'll bump into a person who has the answer for you, something like that. But to me, the active part is asking the right question.
Mathematics and symbolism are related in some way, am I right? There's a lot of symbols out there, Masonic symbols, things like that.
Yes.
Is there a mathematical basis behind that fixes your loop or unfixes your loop? Is there something that out there in symbolism? Because why have these symbols lasted for so many years? There has to be something really structured behind it,
Yeah,
or
great.
else it would have died.
Yes. So, well, with some of the symbols, there's like a human aspect. Some of the symbols have got a sexual aspect that, well, like the chalice and blade combination.
What's that?
So, well, chalice is a simple triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, blade is a simple triangle,
Mm-hmm.
which is a phallus,
Right.
and then the chalice is the womb, which is the triangle the other way.
Oh, the Star Davis thing.
Well, yeah. So that has got a very man, woman, human
Mm-hmm.
element to it. Also, the compass. Now we had a great conversation about pi.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take a compass, what can you create with a compass?
Create with it.
What can you draw with a compass?
Circles.
Circles. What can you draw with a straight edge?
Straight lines.
Diameters.
Yeah.
Aye. So the first thing that you can actually create with the compass and straight edge symbol is a circle with the line across it, which generates this irrational number that we were talking about. So embedded in...
Right.
There's a light bulb there.
There was a wee bit, no, I wouldn't call it a light bulb now.
Aye.
A flickering flame.
Aye. So in some sense, yes, it can be embedded in the symbology. But all of that esoteric symbology, I mean, I've looked at it, and really what I've come away with is that there's an absolute avalanche of material there. And yeah,
Oh, God.
to understand it fully would be a lifetime study.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
I would love to know some of that stuff, I have to admit, because I see sort of, even in advertising, they use the same sort of symbolism in so many different things.
Yes.
So, and I don't think they're doing it consciously. I don't think it's somebody sitting down, or somebody, guys written down, saying they'll consciously put this on this fucking sign. I think it's just because it's been used so many times it becomes like a repetitive thing.
Yes.
Does that make any sense?
Yes, I think really that's a question certainly I'm left with a lot. Is there intentionality behind this?
Yes.
Yes. So my takeaway is that there is intentionality.
There
behind
is?
it. Yes, after many years of thinking about it.
Yeah, but I think this was intentionality was put in many years ago. I think a lot of people using it now don't even know the intentionality of it.
Well, I wonder about how many people. So remember we were talking about the secret language that's like gematria that's embedded into numbers. I wonder how many people are well versed in that language, and I think it's more than we think it is.
Aha.
It's like what George Carlin said. There's a big club and we ain't in it.
Absolutely.
Aye, and
Getty.
they know that language. Yeah.
Ah, for fuck's sake. Right. Gotcha. Yes.
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 So I think that's quite extensive. Yeah.
And do you think they use that language in any way? Well, they're not going to use it for good. Do you think they use any of this?
Well,
The symbology that the way we see affects us? Because you're the loop thing.
yeah.
Is there anything out there?
Oh, absolutely. There's a whole bunch of stuff around a thing called the tesseract and the
Yep.
hypercube.
Yeah.
Yes. So, my understanding of it is that symbology is definitely being used to affect the human experience.
I agree. I totally agree.
Now-
I think everybody uses everything.
Yeah. Now we know advertising works.
Yeah.
So if you want to impact on people's behaviour, here's what you do: you show them a big picture of something. If you want people to drink beer, show them a big picture of beer. If you want people to go to a Rod Stewart concert,
Yeah, they would be on me.
show them a big picture of Rod Stewart and off they go. So so just putting symbols in the environment. Now, a lot of these symbols are built out of very simple geometries, triangles and squares, whatnot. So there's been a lot of work that would suggest that there's structures in the brain called microtubules,
Yes.
and whenever those cells fire, they fire in these geometric patterns.
Ah.
So these simple geometries are deeply, deeply human.
Uh-huh.
And whenever the brain sees constructions in that language, now your top personality might not understand it,
Yeah.
but it is having an effect on you on a systemic level. Absolutely, it is.
Ah. I'm going to ask this again. Could you or somebody else work out what these symbols mean so as we could maybe train people not to respond to them or to negate them in some way?
Yes would be my answer. Although the person would need to realise that they're having an effect. What's the effect they're having?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Like I'm not just talking a few symbols I know. You got the Star of David was just mentioned.
yep,
We've got the Masonic symbols. You know, there's certain symbols you see regularly. I don't know the names of them.
yeah.
You know.
Two-headed eagle. You see that a lot.
Oh, don't you? It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, from beginning of time. It was there from just Syria or Babylon or something or whatever it was. It's always been there.
Yeah.
And they all actually mean something. They wouldn't use them if it didn't mean something.
Wouldn't you like crests and flags?
Oh,
Flags
yeah,
have all got an
flags.
esoteric meaning. Crests and dragons, all of that.
Yeah.
That's all got like a deeply deep.
Lions' heads.
Yes.
It's
Aye.
like when you go to churches there and you see these horrible gargoyles,
Yes.
you know. And I was at Notre Dame a few years ago and I loved that. What a stunning building. Yeah, I don't know. But the gargoyles, and I was done thinking, and the shapes of all the architecture of the windows, everything.
Yeah.
And I was done looking, thinking, it's barography typey thingy, you know. It's and the gargoyles must mean something because they're replicated, you know. So everything there has a meaning, everything visual.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, also the structures of cathedrals.
Oh, the dome on it is.
Yeah, and there's phi and Fibonacci numbers are all over that. They're emulating nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in the architecture. Yeah.
Talk about Fibonacci, just to get off the subject. I was standing outside Kelly Sellers one night. I was having a conversation, as I did, and I was, I love it, best part of Belfast. And I was standing outside on the pint, and I was still having this conversation that the world's waking up to all sorts of things. And this guy said, not Gareth Bollocks. I said, I'm fucking telling you, people are changing. I says, I meet more and more people getting more interested in sort of looking after themselves and meditating and doing all sorts of things in their lives. And then I needed a skin for, I was rolling one. And then I hadn't got on it, and I walked over to a table, and I'd seen two lads, and were sitting talking. And the guy was saying to the other, I was asking for a skin. I was standing at the table rolling this cigarette, and I was listening to I just overheard a conversation, and one was saying, I'm fucking telling you, world's waking up. He says, I know more people getting into conversation, you know, things like conversations and everyone into and meditate and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
And I was walking away a wee bit astounded, and as I was walking it by, I heard this guy says, it's fucking 1.61 from. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, the Fibonacci sequence. That's what he's actually called now. That's his nickname, Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
And there's more and more people getting onto this, catching on to this sort of reality of, you know, it isn't just solid mass. It isn't just this lump of meat. There's something above that lump of meat. Have you any thoughts on that? What is your beliefs in?
Well, so you would have like a.
You know what I mean? Has your mathematics changed your view, say your spiritual view or your view of creation or the universe, or is there any? Your study of mathematics, has it brought you to any conclusions in that sort of way?
Well, it's maybe brought me to two things, and they're maybe a little bit opposite. So in some sense, yes, it's really turned me on to the wonderful beauty of nature.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Yes. And then on the other hand, it's had me be present to the interruption that the human mind brings to the beauty and elegance of nature. Mm-hmm. So with the mind racing, like I say, it's racing along logical lines. It's actually following a logical loop pattern when it's doing that.
So when I'm walking along through Upper Craigie Glen, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going along, and there's times I'm going along and I'm immersed in it.
Yeah.
I'm immersed. You know, I just feel this I'm at home and I love it, and there's other times I'm walking up and I catch myself on that my brain's going. I haven't fucking noticed saying nothing.
Yes.
Or took in anything.
Yeah.
You know, because I can't even tell you what the thoughts were.
Yeah.
Is that what you're?
That's what I'm talking about. That's just the washing machine logic going on. And what that does is that has you be present to the way the mind is operating, and what you're not is present to reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any... one question I'm going to be asking people from now on, I should have done at the start, is, I'll ask you at the end, but, what is the one book, that you would recommend to anybody in the world?
Yes.
But is there any books or any resources, if people listening are, they're starting to click, oh, fuck this or that, right? That a book or something like you would recommend to help on that journey? Is there anything out there that would be given as a starters, like a Haynes manual or something?
There's a big hitter book. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's called Gödel, Escher, Bach.
I can't even say it. Say it again.
Gödel or Gödel,
Mm-hmm.
who's the mathematician that came up with the incompleteness theory.
Yep.
Then we've got Escher, the Dutch artist,
Mm-hmm.
and Bach, the composer.
Mm-hmm.
So what this book is about really just the looping activities that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, Escher does drawings where a hand comes out of the page and draws a hand.
That's beautiful. I've seen that. Yes.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, yeah.
But what you've got there is something giving rise to something in a loopy nature.
Uh-huh.
So we've already talked about it with Gödel, things like this is not a message.
Mm-hmm.
That creates a loop in consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Escher's drawing create a loop in consciousness. And then there's a musical form, canon and fugue, that has got exactly the same effect, which is the musical line goes somewhere and then loops back upon itself and creates itself again. One thing that just occurred to me to say there. So I encounter people who say that they're not mathematicians.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, have you ever crossed a road? And they'll say, yes, I've crossed a road. And I've said, what do you do if a car seems to be moving faster than you thought it was?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Get a road.
You speed up,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your mind has actually just done comparative analysis and calculus
Mm-hmm.
to do that.
Yeah.
You're operating on mathematics.
Get that.
Right.
Okay.
Also, you ever been in a shop and you've gone in for moisturizer?
No, I haven't. No.
Well, you've gone in for
Balavaga. No, I'm only kidding. Pack of smokes there.
Okay, let's say you've gone in for a bottle of vodka, right? And there's a full-size bottle, which is 75 cl at this price. There's a half bottle, and you do a wee calculation. Right. So, you can go in and you can assess about 6 different... You're doing value comparisons on that. Mm-hmm. You're doing a comparative analysis for value, and you're doing that quietly, and you're not doing it in your personality. Your mind just knows how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I had a friend many years ago, on my road, John, Big John, and he wasn't much use of it, much anything. But see, mathematically,
yeah,
he didn't think about it.
Aye.
It just come out. Can people be trained to do it, or are you born like that? Because I've always envied people like that,
Well, so where I come from, just this, it's innate to humanness. Everybody knows to speed up when a car's coming.
Mm-hmm. Well, sort of animals.
Aye. So it's part of how we get about in the world is this comparison thing that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's true that anyone can understand how a human being operates, then I would say anyone can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm aware now that people have got different skills bundles, natural skills bundles,
Mm-hmm.
and you actually wouldn't want everyone to have all the same ones.
There we go. Yeah.
You wouldn't want everyone
No,
to.
you wouldn't.
You wouldn't. Aye, so there's people that fall in this domain and there's people that fall in that domain.
But why we only use 10% of our brain?
So they say. So they say.
Right.
Yeah.
I would agree with it.
Right.
In so many respects. Do you think that certain people like mathematicians and like people who would do that sort of work would have maybe turned up maybe a notch 11, and there's other people who are down at 9?
Well,
I don't think everybody's on a level playing field here. I think it's got an awful lot. It's got to do with your upbringing and your food you eat and what you put in, how you think and your lifestyle, and But do you think there is somebody at 100?
Well, I have to say, I'm slightly suspicious of the statistic.
The
We only
10%
use
statistic?
10% of our brain, slightly, because I don't know how they're measuring or who's doing the measuring on that.
Isn't that done with ECG type thing, an electrical
Yeah.
movement in the
Yeah.
brain?
So now I think you probably want a lot of headspace.
Mm-hmm.
So humans are able to contemplate the universe. We're able to look out at the night sky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, for us to be able to comprehend that, the brain has to be massive.
Mm-hmm.
So for us to get any sort of image of the universe, then the brain space required for us to do that has to be massive. And if you think of the size of the universe compared to the size of your body,
Mm-hmm.
then you could maybe even think of a brain model like that as well, which is that you need that much brain to support
Ah,
a self-image of one.
right.
So it could be operating that way. The thing is if there's always more brain to get into, there's always more discovery to have. You wouldn't want to fill your brain up.
I would. Yeah, and right now, yes, at my age, fill it up, fuck, yeah, load it, And I can understand as you're growing up, as you're maturing or whatever, you need that brain space for. But I think when you get to a certain age, like, just give me it, right?
If a pretty girl walks past my deathbed, I want her phone number, and I want some space to be able to keep it in.
One more. Is there anything else you want to say, or are you happy enough?
Well, I've had a good old clear out, so thanks very much. Yeah.
One more question. What's the book that has affected you the most? What would you say to people? It's really done something for me, and think about maybe having a look at it.
Course in Miracles.
Oh God, I knew you were going to say.
Yeah, you asked me. You did ask.
Yeah, for everybody, Colin put me on this book called The Course of Miracles. It's like reading the Bible.
Yeah.
I started it, and to me, where I am in my journey, it's a life changer.
Yeah.
In so many ways, because I was sitting like, there's pages I go by, I don't have a clue what's going on.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, bang, I would highly recommend it myself. I was sitting the other night, and I was sitting just brain dead, and then on some thoughts, and I came to this conclusion. I thought, I get that, in my head. Right. That's the way to be. That's the way to do. And then I lay down, get the book out. I only read a few pages every night. It's too much. Oh, for God's sake. And I'm reading at it, and I'm thinking, I opened the book, and the first words that I read in it was what I had just discovered myself. Unbelievable. Yeah. Thanks for that. It was a cracking book. Thank you.
It was the 9th word that had me read the whole thing.
What was it?
Required.
Required?
The foreword opens with the lines, "This is a course in miracles. It is a required course."
A required?
Required course. And I thought, oh, required are you? In what way are you required? In what way am I required? Required?
I never read forewords. I've never read a foreword in my life.
So, like the Course in Miracles would describe itself as the way out of the detour into fear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is what we all want.
Yeah, so it's a way to dismantle the ego.
Yes.
Yes, so the ego is a false presentation of who you are.
Of course it is.
It's built up over time. So what the Course sets out to do is to systematically take down the barricades that your ego has thrown up to life.
Yeah.
So, and then at that point, then life comes in a lot more than it did previously. So by required, what I got that, my understanding of it came to be this, is that to put down fear, it is required to put down fear. Mm-hmm. You can't put down fear without putting down fear. Mm-hmm. So it's a required course in that sense. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like I said, and then I engaged in the book, and it's a remarkable book. Mm-hmm. And again, time out of number, I've had the experience of picking it up, and it's talking to me about my life circumstance at that point. Yeah. Now, why I opt for that over other spiritual traditions, now I've had a good look at lots of things, lots of different religions over the past 10, 15 years. Well, I thought you need to see the field of play, you need to see who's saying what.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, I've done that, been there. But.
Yeah, every single one of them is making the same claim, and they all make the claim that theirs is the only way. Yes. Now, the Course doesn't do that. It does the opposite. Yeah. There's a page in the middle where it says, Um, uh, you will try to make an idol of anything and everything, including this book.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to have to put this book down and stop relying on it.
Yeah.
And at that point, then that past that, it's not trying to say it's the only way to enlightenment.
Yeah.
Yet, escape from fear.
Ego. Now, a lot of people don't get that, but I thought I had my ego well in hand. I really did. Two things helped me. Was an amazing woman called Colette, friend of mine. She said a few things to me that triggered things, and that was a few months ago, and I'm still there with it. I'm still there with it. Thinking about what she said and how it affected me, and how it's changed me. And working, and then there are certain parts of Course in Miracles. I just thought, oh fuck yeah, I have to work on that. And do you think that ego is beatable, or is it a constant battle, or can you win the war? Because to me, winning the war that's near enough enlightenment, is it not? Is that not?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yes, those would be the same thing. Yes.
Oh.
So you can definitely win the war. Now I know that you can win the war. Although to win the war, you have to give up the war, because you're really only battling yourself.
Exactly.
And you win the war by, like a watching vigil on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a sure sign that you're being egoic rather than not being egoic, and it's your own upset. Well, whatever's occurring in the world.
Yeah.
Say something occurs, and
I don't get upset now, really, to be honest with you, about the world.
Yeah.
At the moment, there's this Trump Biden thing and all. I don't really give a bollocks who wins. It's not like I don't take. I've stopped taking sides. I've stopped, and making harsh judgments. I had an experience a while back, and my ego was still present, and it shocked me.
Yeah.
And it got me into a situation I'm very unhappy about.
Okay.
And I have to work on that. And I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
And this is a few months, and I'm still working on that one problem with that ego.
Yeah.
And
Well,
and I know I'll get it resolved.
Yes.
I think I have a way of resolving it.
Yeah.
But ego, and a lot of people don't realise they have an ego. Especially the more bigger their ego is.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I mean? The bigger
Yes.
their ego is, I have no fucking ego.
Aye.
But I know, like, when I was a young man, my ego was out the window.
The ego.
I was big balls, you know what I mean?
The ego thinks it's you. The ego thinks it's you.
Yeah.
Now, you can win the war. You can get over the crest of the hill. I would not say that too many people have reached the state of complete egolessness.
The Buddha, maybe?
Well, yeah, and I'm not actually sure that's entirely desirable.
Yeah.
Because we are separate entities, or the consciousness is located at a body. Another way, and we do interact with each other. So to interact with each other, we have to have some sense of self. Yeah. So and some sense of identity. So ego's not bad as such. It's bad when it gets out of proportion.
Yeah.
Now, even Buddha stubbed his toe sometimes.
Yeah, so it is.
Aye. So, I keep a watching vigil. So what that means is that when a situation comes up that was unexpected, I watch how I react to it.
Yeah.
And then if I react to it in a certain small number of ways with upset or, something from your childhood gets triggered, then at that point you need to examine it. You need to get to the reality of it. You need to undo any of the falsities about it. Yes. And I'd say most human upset is unpredicated in reality.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yes, of course it is.
It's all imaginary.
Aye. Yeah. So whenever something occurs and you go rushing back to your filing cabinet of woes and complaints and then run that record again, that's the ego at work right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Any thoughts for anybody listening on how, or a book or exercise or whatever to help them with that?
Well, I can only
Or
discuss...
is it just, I just keep personally if I get in the position now where I'm going to react, I try to take that breath,
Yeah.
you know, where I was always straight in.
Yeah.
Fuck you. You know, where now, you know, I try to pause. I'm
Yeah.
not saying I'm doing it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but is that the way to go, or is there?
Well, there's two parts. There's 3 parts to it. Well, so the first way is you get activated by something.
Yeah, triggered.
You get triggered, and then you respond as if the trigger was in the world rather than in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the usual way.
Yeah.
And then, let's say that occurs and you don't examine it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're cursed to relive that moment again and again and again and again and again. Yeah. So then there's, you get triggered, you react, and then afterwards you self-contemplate and get to the bottom of it. There's the position you get triggered and then you don't react. Now at that point then you're still in the blood boiling position, but you've managed to stop your reaction getting out into the world.
Yeah.
So that's excellent. Yeah.
I think that's where I am.
Well, then what you do is you go and you pull it apart into its constituent elements.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yes. So, like, very often, you know, we'll get confronted by something and we'll add a much bigger threat level to it than is actually there.
That's the truth.
Yes.
I've done that.
Yes.
This last occasion, I done that.
Yes.
And it kept me awake.
Yeah.
You know, I actually wanted to go and punch somebody's fucking head in.
Aye.
You know, but, you know, and I've dissected it, you know, and I've realised that the situation that happened was partly in my response to his response.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
if I hadn't
yeah.
responded, he wouldn't have responded, then I wouldn't have this issue. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So-
But what you end up doing then is playing a game of ego table tennis.
Exactly.
And things get bigger and bigger and bigger
Yeah.
and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And none of it's real.
2 monkeys shaking sticks at each other.
Aye.
I know.
So it's that over attribution of threat, right? So that's the unreal part, right? So when your mind brings something back to you again and again and again and again, it's doing that. In my view, it's doing that because there's something unreal about the way you've left the situation,
Yeah.
and that could just be I was over threatened by that.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah.
Brilliant.
A book. The first book that set me off on the trail of book reading and self discovery was a book called Awareness.
Awareness.
Yes.
Do you remember who?
Yeah, Anthony DeMello.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's a big hitter in sort of the spiritual area. So not difficult to read and a lot of practical common sense in it. Aye.
Mine, it wasn't my first book, it was just a book that really affected me was, I had somebody here one time and this book was recommended to them, they didn't bother, and I bought them it and I never came for it, and I thought, it was lying there and I thought, I wonder why he recommended that book to somebody else, this person. So I started reading it. It was called The Shack. And it's a very small wee book for anybody listening. And it's a book about forgiveness. And I used to have issues with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know. And I probably, I'm not saying that I still don't, but it really helped me. You know, and it lays out how you can forgive near enough anything. And I just recommend it to anybody that's listening. It's called The Shack. It's a wonderful book. Try it. Right, listen man, thanks very much. That was fantastic.
You're welcome, thank
I
you.
think I learned a few things there, alright? Look at the hug. Nice. Thank you very much.